This is Beyond the Door, exploring the light of Freemasonry. Hello, and welcome again to Beyond the Door, exploring the light of Freemasonry. I am Chris Crume, and once again joined by my co-host, Matt Salyer.
How y'all doing?
Boy, we are in May at this point. It feels like just yesterday we had started this podcast. We're going to drop the 10th episode here coming up, and what a cool journey I think it's been thus far.
Yeah, a little bit. This has been an interesting project. It really has, and I'm hoping it grows real legs, like true long legs, and we can kind of lean into some additional topics here and there, but definitely taken in a couple of different directions that weren't originally anticipated, at least this early, but it's been awesome.
Yeah, and I think, did I hear maybe spin-off content there?
Oh, I don't know about that, but you have my attention, we'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the title of the Master Mason episode, the world is our oyster on this, right? There's a lot of different directions we can go. And I think the biggest thing is we're just super grateful for the outpouring of support that we've had thus far. And, you know, it wouldn't be possible without all of the amazing listeners out there downloading this podcast, listening to it, telling their friends, their family, their brothers about this podcast and, you know, really what it means.
Yeah, I would echo every last bit of that. It's the support, the positive things that I've heard in person. It's really, I'm glad it's touching something out there in a positive way. So,
well, I think today too, you know, as we've kind of gotten out of the 3 degrees, we start to explore, you know, what the oyster really is, you know, from that Master Mason degree. And our interview today with Illustrious Brother Chuck Gaiser, coming here and talking about the Grotto, is one of those appendant bodies that we kind of are starting with. But for those that don't know what appendant bodies are and don't know what the Grotto is, tell me a little bit about that real fast.
Well, and I can only speak to my own experience, right? But the Grotto for the longest time was under the radar. I kind of heard about it in passing from some of our more seasoned members, but I never knew hardly anything about it. And then Chuck decided we invited him, I should say, into the lodge to do something in the way of a lodge education program on it. And it kind of opened my eyes, and I'm really glad that we were able to have him down here and talk a little bit more about it. But to answer the question, so the Grotto is a standalone appendant body of Freemasonry. It is not on the Newark Rite path. It is not on the Scottish Rite path. And it's a little bit more of a relaxed atmosphere. The Grotto it was kind of born of the idea that we work really hard within Blue Lodge, and so we should be able to play equally hard, right? So kind of getting a little bit more of the humor and the fun and I don't want to say party because I don't want to blow it out of proportion, but and kind of the event planning and the dancing, music, etc.
Yeah. Well, and what I love about this too, and again, backing up just a bit, you know, appendant bodies, you know, these are those things that you can do after you've gotten your Master Mason degree. You can continue to explore Freemasonry in new and unique ways. And what I love about Grotto, and you're going to hear this in our interview with Chuck, is it's a very unique way to continue your path of Freemasonry. Really lean heavily into the fellowship, the brotherhood, the families, and getting them involved in what we do.
100%. And I really took away from that I really feel like the Blue Lodges and the Grotto should be supporting one another more.
Absolutely.
And if that's my own personal call to action for anybody out there, I mean, I'm kind of taking it to heart, and I hope others do too, because I see a lot of possibilities with combining forces for events and, you know, kind of getting the spouses involved and having the kids run around playing together. It kind of builds that culture, and I'd like to see more of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're really thrilled to have Illustrious Brother Gaiser in the Newark 97 podcast studio, and we really think you're going to love this episode.
All right. Well, in typical fashion, we want to share some of the upcoming happenings here in the 19th District and around the state. So Tuesday, June the 2nd, At 7:30 p.m., Newark number 97 will have their stated meeting. Saturday, June the 6th at 9 a.m., there will be a district leadership program phase 2 at Center Lodge number 86. Saturday, June 13th at 9 a.m., that district leadership program phase 2 will also take place at New Home number 338. Also on Saturday, June 13th, and again on June 27th from 9 a.m. to noon, the Licking County Historical Society passport tours will take place at the Newark Masonic Temple. These are coming to an end.
Yeah, I will say if you have not gotten out here to see those paintings, get out here because we've got, I think, 3 dates left, 2 in June and 1 in July. So first time that these paintings had been visible to the public since the 1850s. Not that we like to keep our secrets, but, it just shows that, if you're not a member, you don't necessarily get to enjoy some of that rich history that's here as well.
Well, it's beautiful artwork, so it is worth the trip down here. It truly is.
And if you're from Newark, it is culturally relevant to Newark as well for our history.
And then Friday, June 19th at 6 p.m., the 19th and 20th District Visitation will take place at the Moose Lodge in Mount Vernon.
Should be a good time, too. That's a really cool place. It's where we had the Grand Master's reception for 19th District. So good food, good time.
And good fellowship.
Absolutely.
All right. And rounding out June, on Saturday, June 27th at 9 a.m., the District Leadership Program Phase Number 2 will be here at Newark number 97.
As we get into this interview here in just a minute with Illustrious Brother Gaiser, I think this is kind of setting up where we're going to head for the next few months with some of the, interviews that we're going to do and talking about the appendant bodies. But next month, really special episode coming out of Beyond the Door that I think is really going to be fun for a lot of folks. We're going to do a very special Father's Day episode. Both myself and Matt, our dads are Masons as well, with two completely different journeys and really just the stories and everything that we're going to talk about. I think is going to be great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. And a little bit of trepidation. You never know what ridiculous story Dad might tell about your youth.
You never know what Dad might say. You're right, but I think it's that fathers and sons thing that we see very commonly.
No, I'm overwhelmingly in support of this. It's gonna be a good conversation, and I say this in a good way. It's kind of interesting what comes out when you get people to sit down and you have that conversation, and we're really pointed about it. There's no interruptions. You got the headphones on. I'm kind of curious what'll shake loose.
Yeah, I am too. And hopefully this is a really good send off into the summer, knowing that a lot of lodges do go dark in the summer. So just because lodges go dark in the summer doesn't mean that Beyond the Door is going to be going dark, during the summer. We'll be here all summer for you as well.
That is the plan.
June, July, August, if your lodge is dark, don't worry. We're going to have our dulcet tones coming over the airwaves to you.
The absolute best that we can do in terms of content.
But if there's anything that you're wanting to hear from us too, I think this is an important place to say this. Please reach out. We give our email address and our social media handles at the end of every episode. Reach out if there is a topic that is important to you or something you'd like us to expound upon. We are always more than willing to take those topics and discuss them.
Do you one better and add interviewee as well?
Yeah.
If there is a special Mason with an interesting story that you think deserves to have a moment behind the microphone and share that, and something that we can take to the brethren, more than interested.
Because I think at the heart of it, that's what this is all about. It's about the stories of Freemasonry and what it's meant to a lot of people.
Oh yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the stories and the education, that's what interested me about the idea to begin with, is learning a bit and bringing people along with the ride.
Yeah, and boy, what a ride it's been. So without further ado, we're going to kick it over to our interview with Illustrious Brother Chuck Gaiser. Well, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome Brother Chuck Gaiser into the Newark 97 podcast studio. We are just super excited to have you here with us today to talk all things grotto.
Okay. I'm glad to be here and see you guys and all that.
Yeah, welcome, Chuck.
Thank you.
Yeah, happy to have you here.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to, talk inside of a lodge, but outside of what we normally do. And really thinking about that, I'm going to jump right in here. Who are you outside of the lodge? What do you do, outside of the lodge?
Well, I'm retired. I don't know how many of you know. I'm 85 years old.
No.
I would not have guessed that.
I was just say I wasn't going to guess that.
I would never have guessed that.
And I was raised in 1965. So I've been a Mason for 61 years.
Wow.
But so consequently, I'm retired, and the wife and I, we like to travel. We do gardening. In fact, we've spent about the last 3 days in our backyard. We got a fenced-in backyard, and she loves raising flowers and roses and all that kind of stuff. And we've pretty much got it ready for the summer now. But since when I first retired, I've spent a lot of time on the golf course because my wife still worked. So me and my buddies would go out and golf about every work day. And after a while, you get older and things don't work as well for that swinging that golf club and all that.
Did you get better at the game, though?
Yes. Yeah. Pretty good.
Good.
And then I got interested in going back to lodge more so. But when I went in 1965, it was only a matter of months that I got put on second shift. I worked at Rockwell.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of curtailed me doing anything with Masonic. So in my career from then on, I worked on an hourly person. And after 5 years, I was asked to go in supervision. And I spent 15 years in supervision. But while I was doing that, I started going to school over at OSUN. And I never did get a degree. I got probably that close, but I never did get a degree. But I did become an engineer there. And so that I retired in December of 1999 and had, as an engineer, a very good career at Rockwell. And from there, that's when I started the golf. But in between all that time, I really wasn't active with the lodge. But I did, at Rockwell, there was some guys that belonged to Scottish Rite in Cambridge, and they talked me into joining Scottish Rite, which I did. And consequently, I really liked Scottish Rite, and I went through one of the bodies down there, and that's how I got my 33rd in, by going through one of the bodies in the Scottish Rite. Well, after that, I got my 33rd, my wife said, you should go back to the Blue Lodge because there's where your start began in Masonry. So I started going back to Heath. That's my home lodge, which used to be down here as Crusader.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I was raised, in this building right here. So I did. And of course, when I walked in, and they're questioning me about things, and I said, yeah, I'm a 33rd and all that. Evidently, they thought he knows everything about Masonry, and I hadn't even been back to a Blue Lodge. I really didn't, And they put me right in as junior deacon. Boom. Right now.
Nothing like trial by fire right there.
So from there, of course, went through the chairs. In 2008, I was the master of Heath out there. And then I started getting involved in Newark Rite.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they have elections and everything, we was all sitting up there, and they didn't have a recorder for chapter, council, or commandery.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting there and thinking, I never did do anything like that, but I'll put my name in the hat, and I did. And of course,
that is the one thing about Masonic bodies. If you want a job, you are guaranteed a job.
You've got a job.
Now. You've got it right now. And from that, I really just became so involved with some of the bodies of by going through. chapter council and commandery, you then are eligible to become a Knight York Cross of Honor. And, of course, that leads to other things, So you just get all kinds of honors there after a while and all that. So
that's a fairly unusual journey, if you don't mind my saying. So you had a long hiatus, essentially, from Blue Lodge.
From like 1965 until in the 90s.
So you had almost 30 years of service then when you had your first job in Blue Lodge.
Yep.
That is interesting.
That's amazing.
Yep. That's the reason I said I didn't really know that much about the Blue Lodge as far as, what went on and all this and that.
Yeah.
And when I did get raised here, I did come back down and was helping them with, they would, at that time, they always took in new candidates very frequently.
Yeah.
And I would help them out. But like I say, then when I got put on second shift, that came to a halt.
We have some brothers that are that way too, that I know very much want to be here, but the usual vocation and obviously raising a family, that's a hard choice to make there, and they're second shift. So,
Yep.
So you brought up how the frequency. How frequently were people being introduced down here?
Oh my golly, they'd take in maybe 8 or 10 a month.
Oh my Lord.
Wow.
You were busy all the time,
I mean, so you were doing degree work 8 to 10 times a month.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, and then, of course, being as new as I was, I really didn't know what the heck I was doing. They tell me what to do, But,
stand there, say this.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder, what if I hadn't been put on second shift? What would have it led to in Masonics,
But still, you've got an interesting Masonic career, nevertheless.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's that first 30 years, but then that second 30 years, it's like, wow.
Really jumped in it?
It jumped in, yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yep.
You mentioned your wife. She's the one holding down the fort then at home when you're out here?
Sure is.
Okay.
And her and I went through the Eastern Star one time.
Okay.
And she was the worthy matron and I was the worthy patron right here when it was here in this building.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, she knows a lot about Masonics. Her dad was a Mason, her brother. My dad was a Mason. My ex-father-in-law was a Mason. In fact, my dad was a Shriner, and that was in West Virginia. So, and they are really the ones that my ex-father-in-law and my dad got me interested in Masonry. And they came to Newark one time and said, here's your fees. You're going into the Masonic Lodge. They didn't say, you want to go or anything like that. Here, you're going. That's how I got put in, just like that, But and then once I did it, it was found out it was very interesting, and I liked it. So,
thinking about like being here in 1965, I mean, there had to be people all over the place too. I mean, just the lodge room had to be filled.
It was, yes. Same thing with, I mentioned about my wife and I going through Eastern Star.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember when we did our inspection, the blue room upstairs was completely full. I think it was 150 some people.
Wow.
At our inspection. And the same thing was with Blue Lodges. My golly, there'd be people up in the balconies, the room would just
that's amazing.
Packed full.
They'd have to probably bring in extra chairs.
Chairs, yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Sure would.
I mean, I can only imagine that room packed like that. I've never seen it that way. I think about 60 to 70 is the most we've ever seen in there.
I've seen it close one time.
Really?
Well, it was pre-COVID.
Okay, that makes sense.
Well, if you remember, I was the inspection candidate, Master Mason.
Everybody wanted to see you.
No, I don't know about all that. It was 2012. Pre-COVID, quite a bit, and there were a lot of faces in that room. I can't say the balcony was full, but the downstairs at least was very
full.
Yeah.
I
mean, hopefully we can get back to that spot here soon.
Yeah. Well, and when you'd come down, the entertainment room in there, the pool room.
Yeah.
There'd be guys in there playing pool or cards, and
where
the card tables are.
Yeah.
There'd be Masons sitting there playing cards and just having a good time and all that. You'd like to see that come back, but
what about families, wives and kids ever down here?
I never saw that too much.
Okay.
Now, in Grotto, maybe we'll get into that a little bit more. But
I do have that question.
Okay.
I know that's on there.
I won't say any more about that right now. Okay.
Also thinking about just, life outside of, lodge. What are your hobbies? What do you like to do?
Well, as I mentioned, golf, but I love woodworking. I got a little woodworking shop.
Okay.
And I love to do that, but I haven't. Masonry here in the last 8 to 10 years has really kept me busy, especially when you're secretary of, the three bodies in New York, right?
Yeah.
The secretary of Grotto.
I didn't know you had that role too. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
You must write really well then.
I don't know.
You can read it at least.
Yeah. Yep.
Anything particular that you like to do in woodworking, or just
anything?
Okay.
Yeah. Furniture or anything. I don't know.
Yeah, there's no wrong answer. I was genuinely curious because some people have a thing that they like to do and they do it
birdhouses or something.
Yeah.
Right. And then others, it's like they like the challenge of it, so they want that new thing.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of looking for projects all the time.
Yep.
So
if if I'm sitting here looking at your phone today too, who's your favorite artist or band, or what music are you listening to right now?
Elvis Presley.
Ooh, I like it.
That was a fast answer.
That was a really fast answer.
Fast answer.
My son got me interested in that when he was a little boy, and Elvis was real popular.
Mm-hmm.
He had a little recording records,
Yeah.
and he'd play that just constantly, and I think, good golly, that guy drive me crazy. But then when I got to listening to him, I thought, I think he's got a really unique voice. It seemed like a lot of the artists, the songs they sing always had that same tone and beat to them, but every song seemed a little bit different to me from him,
He had a wide range.
He had a super wide. I mean, his gospel album is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I love his gospel.
Well, I think if he had sounded the same on every album, if he'd sounded the same on every song, I don't think he would have kind of reached that cultural milestone that he.
Right.
I mean, people had busts of him in their home.
Oh yeah.
The memorabilia for that man is, through the roof.
If you've ever, there's a lot of people like to impersonate him. Have you ever been to one of them?
I have not.
My wife has. Wife has. She loves it.
The women will just, they act like they did back then.
Yeah.
When he was get up,
Right.
act a little crazy and all that.
My wife has gone to one down in Branson with my father-in-law, so he loves Elvis. So they've gone to that competition before.
Mm-hmm.
And
it was a competition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I went to 2 of his concerts.
Wait,
one
actual real Elvis
real
concerts?
Elvis.
Oh my God,
that's cool.
Yep,
that's cool.
The first one we went to, and I told you my little boy was favorite of his. From the time he came on stage until he left, it was. And do you like that? Hey, what do you think? He just stared.
He's just in awe.
He just was so focused on
Elvis. Oh my gosh,
that's awesome.
How old was he?
How old was your little boy at the time?
Probably about 5.
Oh wow.
That's amazing. Yeah, I couldn't imagine seeing Elvis in person. We talk about him all the time. He's still such a cultural icon.
Yep.
I couldn't imagine that, and to think that his career wasn't that long when you really look at it. And his
but he was in everything.
He was in everything.
He did music. He did movies.
And never did a world tour.
I did not know that.
Never did a world tour.
You're right.
I learned that from the Baz Luhrmann movie, but never did a world tour.
I don't know how. I know I'm just thinking of this off the cuff, but I don't actually know how he would be received out of North America. I know he was popular.
Here. He was internationally popular.
Okay,
he was super popular internationally, but never did a tour.
Well, when he was in the military, he was stationed in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he did any entertaining.
Not too much. No. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I like all kinds of music, but he's one of my favorites. I like country music, symphony.
Okay.
I like about all kinds of music.
That's awesome. If you're thinking books or movies, which one's better?
Probably Dances with Wolves, that type of.
Wait, do you like the book or do you like the movie for Dances with Wolves?
I've done both.
Better? Which one did you like better?
I always kind of like a movie. I don't know. You know, you really get to see and all that. With a book, you're going to use more of your imagination and try to. But I kind of like a movie, I think, and be able to sit there and just watch what goes on and all that.
Yeah. Well, and I know you and I have talked about this before because you're a huge Lord of the Rings fan.
I am.
Which did you prefer?
Oh, the books, unquestionably. Like don't get me wrong, Peter Jackson did an admirable job in a lot of ways on that series, particularly with casting.
Yeah.
But the books have so much more of the lore. So.
Yeah. Well, you can only fit so much into a 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
Or 3 3-hour movies.
Well, one per book, yeah.
Right. But no, Dances with Wolves is spectacular, by the way.
It's a great movie. Kevin Costner at his best.
Yep. Sure was.
Definitely at his best. You know, aside from your ritual, what is the most informative Masonic book you've ever read?
Probably you've heard of the Mackey books.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've read a lot of those.
Okay.
And I was trying to think. I've got one book in my little library of Masonics that I can't think the name of it, but it covers all the bodies in Masonics, you know, and describes them and everything. And it kind of helps you maybe to understand what each body's meanings are.
Okay.
So I kind of like that one, but I can't think of the name of it right now.
That's fair.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's amazing too when you think about how each body kind of plays into each other as well. So
you mentioned your father-in-law kind of dragging you down here to get started. Had you heard of Masonry before that?
Well,
oh, you said your father was also a Mason.
Yeah, and I was born in West Virginia, but he moved the family to Pennsylvania when I was probably 3 or 4 years old, and that's when he became a Mason, was in Pennsylvania. And as you know, up there they don't have rituals.
I actually did not.
I didn't know that. It's all
mouth to ear.
Wow.
All mouth to ear.
Okay.
And I can remember, even as that real young age, is my dad talking to other Masons and talking about that. But at the time, it was like, you know, I don't know what they're talking about. But now I think about it, I can remember them talking that, you know, the mouth to ear, teaching one another, you know, what parts they had to do and all that.
Interesting. Okay.
But you know,
I find that fascinating because again, it's probably an easier way to learn. I mean, that's how we teach people.
I don't know
the ritualistic code now.
I think people learn different, so I don't know that I would say easier, but I will say this: I think that actually fosters. I think the fact that you can't do self-study means that you are fostering a much more brotherly environment. Yeah, probably
100%.
So
100%.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know that Pennsylvania was. Are they still?
I think
to this day.
I think so.
Mouth to ear.
So you have early childhood memories then of your dad doing.
And like I say, at the time, I didn't even know what I was hearing.
Right, of course.
You know, but now that I think back, I can remember them talking about that.
That's interesting. Okay, so you probably have memories too of him putting on a suit and disappearing in the evenings to go off to meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was a Shriner in Parkersburg, West Virginia, and he was, you know, I don't know if you've ever seen the Shriners with the motorcycles.
Oh yeah.
They go to Washington, D.C. He did all that. They would practice on a Sunday. They'd go out after church, you know, and practice. But the thing of it was, after church, they might go to the VFW or something before they would practice. Sometimes the practices didn't go too well. I went home one time and he had a road rash all down. So
I've always said if I join Shrine, that's the reason I want to join Shrine. Is I want to ride one of those little mini bikes.
Yeah, no argument.
With them little carts.
Yeah, one of those little carts or a mini bike. I was like, that just looks cool. Wearing a little fez and driving a cart.
Yep.
Well, this just fascinates me because of how young you were. Like, so I'm hoping these are fond memories because I have little guys myself, right? And I know that I disappear on Tuesday evenings, sometimes, you know, Mondays or Wednesdays too. And I'm hoping that kind of translates really well when they grow up and they're like, yeah, Dad did this thing, but it was important to him. It made him better, right?
Right.
So hopefully that's the impression that you had. I don't know. That seems like a leading question, so sorry.
But yeah, because of my dad being a Mason, I think I can remember also him telling me that, if you become a Mason, it's going to make you a better man. I do remember that very well back in my youth.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome. I mean, that kind of reminds me of my grandpa a little bit, although he was kind of the school of you just don't talk about it too. But
yeah,
as he got older, he talked a little bit more about it.
But in my teenage years, though, I never thought too much about it because I was raised. He bought a dairy farm, and I was raised on a dairy farm, and never thought too much about it until my senior year in high school. He said, "Are you going to stay here and make a go of this as a dairy farm?" And I said, "I don't think so. I don't want to become a farmer." And then that's when I got married and came to Newark, and shortly after that, I was 21 years old, and that's when my dad and my father-in-law come over and said, "You're going to be a Mason now."
So your wife's from the area then?
My current wife is. I'm divorced.
Got it.
Okay.
Got it.
She's from Cambridge.
Okay.
Okay.
Not too far away.
No, not far at all.
No.
And the Scottish Rite Cathedral there is gorgeous too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh. Have you ever been out there?
I don't think I've been to the Cambridge one.
You're missing out. Actually, he needs to be reinstated, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
NPD on his dues right now.
Pretty sure that's accurate. Yeah. Not my proudest moment. Need to resolve that.
Thinking back on your Masonic journey too, you had your petition, you had your investigation. Now you're, ready for that entered apprentice degree. You're here. You've got your blue clothes on, probably the same ones that are still up there. I don't think we've changed them, just washed them maybe once or twice, but you're right in the preparation room. What are the thoughts going through your mind before you knock on that door?
Golly, I got to think back now. 60 years ago.
Were your father-in-law and dad in the crowd?
They did not. When I took my entered apprentice in fellowcraft, they did not come over. But of course, when I was raised as a master Mason, they came over and saw that.
So you didn't even have any friendly faces then?
No.
That reminds me of mine too.
Now, I went in with a fellow that I worked with at Rockwell.
Okay.
And him and I studied together. We had a mentor,
mm-hmm.
and we'd go to him, and he'd teach us, the work.
Yeah.
And then this fellow and me would get together on our own. And we would know the lecture and everything, the questions. I mean, I'd ask him the question, and he'd answer, and then we'd reverse it. And we just knew that thing inside and out. But as far as the thoughts, I guess when you're blindfolded like that, your mind is saying, what in the world is this? That they got you blindfolded and leading you around, and you're stumbling and you're trying to imagine what's out there that they don't want me to see right now, and all that. And then after you're entered apprentice and they take that blindfold off, then you see what's going on. Then when you take your fellowcraft, you got a little bit more of an idea. What
the confidence goes up as the degrees go on. That entered apprentice, I haven't talked to anybody who didn't have the jitters.
And the people the friends that I knew, the Masons, of course they tease you, all that teasing goes on before you ever become an entered apprentice. So, I guess that's the things that you're thinking about is all these things. I know they're joking me, but what is there really some of these things going to come true?
I've heard some pretty interesting throwaway comments made to people just beforehand, just to get them guessing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'll never forget when I went up to my grandparents' house after actually going through my 3 degrees. My grandpa asked me, he said, "Did they give you a rowdy goat?"
It's always a goat.
Yeah,
always a goat.
Sure, that's one of the main ones.
And backing up just a minute, what I find, I related really well when you said, you had a guy that you went in with, and you guys could, sit there and go back and forth with the question and answers.
You and Steve, too.
It reminded me of me and Steve. We came in like literally 3-4 weeks apart, something like that.
Yeah.
And because I got to watch every one of his degrees because I would go through it before he did, but we would do the exact same thing. We memorized the ritual inside and out, and we could actually ask and answer the questions together. So I love that about the fraternity, right?
Well, I think that's a good way to go in too.
It is.
Right. And don't get me wrong. I think that every degree is for the individual, of course. Right. But coming in and not being that lone man when you're trying to learn that stuff,
Yeah.
kind of feeling like you're under pressure and the person, learning it with somebody is always better.
Yeah.
Yep.
And somebody that's not your mentor too.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, and it gives you that, again, that familiar face, right? I mean, I think about me standing on the other side of that door. I'm like, what the hell am I doing right now? I don't know any of these guys, they're sitting there talking about a goat and I'm sitting here blindfolded in this room. What is going on? And, not being from the area originally, that, it's a little bit nerve-wracking, and especially for an introvert. So,
yeah.
I think anybody that probably goes first in as an apprentice, you're going to sweat a little bit. I can remember I was very nervous,
yeah.
and probably had a little sweat on my brow and all that because you don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
Because nobody tells you really anything at that point, other than the jokes of what we were talking about.
Yeah. I'm thankful that it was February, so it was a little cold up there. I didn't sweat too much.
Right? So I know exactly what you mean. I was, late fall, early winter.
Yeah.
Yep.
It wasn't like Greg's Master Mason when we did that one, and everybody was sweating because it was July. So
yeah, that's. What about the public speaking, Chuck? Were you fairly new to public speaking? Like returning your work, was that nerve-wracking or?
Well, what we went through in the degrees, I really can't say it was nerve-wracking. Now, I'm not a very good public speaker, I would say, but I guess I was at ease by going in with him because we knew the work so well that it just
wasn't so bad.
In fact, we had to prompt the prompter. He got stuck a couple times.
That's a good sign.
That's a great sign. I think Steve and I did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And that's something.
Oh my gosh.
But it's a good in seriousness, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It tells it being on the other side of that exam, like now for me, it tells me that guy cares.
Yeah.
That
Committed to the craft.
They put in the work.
Committed to the craft, just like the Grandmaster says, it's committed to the craft. And I think that really shows that commitment. Knowing that your dad and your father-in-law were here when you had that Master Mason degree, you go through it and, we all know what, that Master Mason degree, it's a little bit different. What were your immediate thoughts afterwards? Typically, like at least in Newark, we go through the degree and the master asks the candidate, we've been talking for about 2 hours. Now it's your turn to talk. What were your thoughts like right afterwards?
Well, I guess my thoughts would be regarded Masons very highly. And I was thinking, I'm part of that community of Masons, and there's this town of Newark, Ohio, and I was told the population, as a young man, it was 50,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a Mason, and do other people now look up at me as a more of an upstanding citizen and everything because of what Masonry stands for and all that? And I don't know if I'm getting my thought across enough that I just felt that the people that I knew were going to think more of me because I was a Mason and they knew what Masonry meant, as far as making you a good man and being truthful and all that kind of a thing.
Higher thoughts, higher deeds.
Higher standards.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I very much understand.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you get to see the ancient? I've heard that we've got, if you have enough characters, you can do it with torches.
No, I've never seen that.
I've wanted to see that so much. I know Richard's probably one of those guys that has seen it, but I've wanted to see that for a while.
Same.
That's, of course, Art Sterling. If you ever talk to him, there was so many things in years past that, they used to do that you wish that we could get back to some of that and things. And
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Actually, we had Art as a guest on here in our
Arthur was our
first two. Yeah, he was in our first 2 episodes, and if you haven't checked those out, I'd recommend going and hearing those. But yeah, I mean, knowing that your first job was the junior deacon role, right? You got thrown right in. That seems to be everybody's first thing. It's like, hey, were you a junior deacon?
No, I was a junior steward.
Oh, that's right. You were a junior steward, and then you went right to junior deacon right after that?
No. Try again. Go give me 2 more promotions.
You went to junior
steward to junior warden in 1 election.
So you started at junior deacon.
Yeah.
What did that progression then look like after junior deacon for you?
Was it linear?
Yeah.
Pretty linear.
Went through all the rest of the chairs from there on.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then spent 1 year in the East, or?
Yeah, just 1 year.
Okay.
And that 2008 wasn't that Ohio's something in?
Was that the bicentennial?
Centennial, wasn't it? I'm thinking that was the centennial year, 2008.
Yeah, sounds right.
That's probably correct. Yes.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can find it.
I think it was their bicentennial, yeah, if I remember correctly. I wasn't living in the state yet, but I think I vaguely remember seeing some of those license plates around still. So.
I'm disappointed in myself. I should know this history.
As an Ohioan, yeah, you should. But
I shouldn't be my year. But
so you were in the East during that bicentennial.
Yes.
What was that? I mean, what was that like, knowing that there was like something big going on in the state?
I don't know. I don't remember really seemed like it was that big of a deal or anything like that,
No game time jitters.
No.
That first time in the East, right before the gavel. Right before your first gavel.
Yeah, you sure do. But, John Patrick?
Yeah.
Of course, he was kind of my mentor as I was going through all that. And when I was the master, and our inspection was in the Master Mason degree, him and I'd go out almost every day out the lodge and practice,
Yeah.
And there were times he'd said, I don't know if you're going to get this or not, Chuck.
just hear the confidence oozing out of his voice.
Well, when we actually had our inspection, I don't know what it was. It was just like, oh, shoot, just went right through it. And we got done. He said, well, that was amazing. You just went through that like it was nothing. I said, well, as much as we practiced, it should have gone that way.
Good.
He had me to do the questions and the answers, do it the whole thing. And I'd be going along and he'd be walking out there around the altar or whatever, and pretty soon he'd go, I'd say, what? That was right. I know. I just shaking my head. He'd
just trying to trip you up.
Just trying to trip me up. That's and it must have worked because we had a very excellent inspection. So
he still does that to me all the time too.
I think I'd be worried if somebody wasn't ribbing me in some way.
I know, I would be too. So you went to the East in 2008. Did you ever circle back around to the East again, or did you just serve that one time?
Just that one time. Mm-hmm.
And I find, again, I find that interesting too, because again, nowadays we're talking about, guys having to take the East multiple times in a row, or lots of past masters having to fit in there. How many people, when you were master of the lodge, how many people were in your lodge and regularly attending meetings?
We would, of course, we always had our corps of officers that was always there.
Mm-hmm.
And we would probably have 10 to 15 on the sidelines at every meeting. So
yeah.
We always had. And then Freddie Paul went in. I'm trying to think. When I was the master, he was just starting in masonry. Believe it or not.
Wow. No way.
I would.
Yeah.
I would not have guessed.
Nor I. Okay.
He hasn't been in that long, really.
Wow.
That feels meteoric in terms of everyking he's accomplished.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. After he served as master of the lodge, boy, he
really took
jumped
off.
in and sure did.
Wow. So.
You sat in all the chairs then?
Yes.
Every one of them.
What's your favorite job in the Blue Lodge?
Probably senior deacon.
Yeah.
Everybody loves it.
I love that. And that's one you haven't done.
Haven't done it?
Busy, you're just sitting there. And you're busy. It seems like all the time there's something to do.
You've always got your fingers in everything.
Yeah.
Having that front row seat too with the candidates is cool.
Yep.
I like it that you're their first contact.
Mm-hmm.
You're their first introduction and real introduction into Masonry. I mean, you can make or break their experience. I mean, it's a big job. It's a weighty job when you really think about it.
It sure is.
But it's fun because again, you get to be, you're their eyes and ears, right?
Yep.
Still got to go back and punch that ticket one day.
You got to punch that ticket and
junior deacon.
Sounds like next year, right?
As always, I will go where needed.
Oh, I know. When you think about your Masonic journey outside of Blue Lodge and Grotto, we talked a little bit about Scottish Rite. Tell us a little bit more about that too.
I think, as I said before, there was a couple guys at where I worked got me interested in Scottish Rite, and from there, that's how I went through the chairs. And for some reason, Scottish Rite has, of course, 31 degrees. Okay. So you're sitting there, you're not Scottish Rite, is that correct?
I have been. I just need to address it.
Okay.
So yeah.
You remember you had to sit there and observe all the degrees at that time, and if you keep going back, and pretty soon you're going to see them all and everything. But it always fascinated me to watch him portray all these different degrees and the meaning behind the degrees, and all that. That always just impressed me quite a bit. That the reason I liked Scottish Rite. But now I got into York Rite after that.
Yeah,
and York Rite's a little bit different, I believe, in the respect that how you observe and go through the degrees and all that, And so now it's like, that's another thing talking about my dad. I can remember my dad talking to his friends about, now, which way'd you go, Scottish Rite or York Rite, And I just wish that he would have lived long enough to see me to be able to go to both and get to the top of both, Yeah,
they're very different. And I don't have as much under my belt in Scottish Rite as I do York Rite now.
Right.
But just that little bit, I can tell they're very, very different.
Yep. Well, they are. But some of the degrees are very similar to what you'll in chapter and different things. You'll see a lot of things that together, have the same meaning behind them and all that.
A little bit of crossover.
The work is very similar in places.
York Rite feels a little bit more linear.
Right.
Scottish Rite.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
From what I understand, again, not being York Rite myself, it's a little bit more intimate too, right? You're in a smaller room, typically with, guys that you more know than a York Rite. Than a Scottish Rite.
This is anecdotal for me, right? I can't speak for every single body, but that has been my experience, yes.
Yeah, you're in Scottish Rite, you're sitting in a big auditorium, everybody's watching.
Yeah, and that York Rite is in more of a lodge room type experience, so it's a little bit of a different, it depends on which direction you want to go. I mean, I picked Scottish because that's where my grandfather had gone. So, and I know you picked York.
Well, I originally picked Scottish with Dad, and then the big thing for me with Scottish Rite was the distance, right? Yeah. And that's what kind of got me most curious about York Rite here, and then having dipped a toe in now, I'm all in. I'm committed. It's very interesting.
Well, and Richard Lewis got you in too.
Well, yeah.
I mean, you can't say no to Richard.
You cannot say no to Richard Lewis.
He's got a lot of petitions for the York Rite here in Newark.
He's a good man.
He
sure is.
Yeah, he really is. And he's somebody we have to get in this studio one of these days, sooner rather than later, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, so.
How'd you end up in the secretary chair over there, Chuck?
Over
York Rite.
York Rite.
We were having election night one night, and
I know where this story's going.
They didn't have a secretary. Nobody would. They kept going around and going around and going around, and if somebody they would vote for him, the person would say, "No, I don't want that job." And so I said to myself, well, I don't know. I've never been a secretary, so I think, I'll put my name in a hat and see what happens. And as we had said that before, of course, when you do that, boy, oh, hey, we got one.
We got one.
You're going to be there for the next decade.
Right. And Newark is kind of unusual because a lot of York Rite, they'll have a secretary, for the chapter, and then a different person. Of course, it's a recorder when you get into council.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing in commandery.
Yeah.
But, here in Newark, you're secretary of all three bodies. And boy, that same evening after the elections, Art Sterling grabs me by the arm and come on down here at the office. He starts giving me things right now. You hear, the way here's how we do things, and here's where this is at. And
why does that not surprise me at all?
We already got a key made for you, Chuck, for the filing cabinet. We'll see you on Mondays and Wednesdays.
Right.
He runs a tight ship.
He does.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does.
He's a good teacher.
Yeah.
That he
very,
is.
very good.
That he is. He is a fantastic teacher and probably one of my favorite people to talk to, too.
Yep. Got a lot of knowledge. He retains so much that.
Yes. He's probably forgotten more than I'll ever know. I mean,
well, that was one of the big things for me coming into York, right? Was Art had said to me, once you get through this, I can teach you everything I know, and all of the like cool factor in that went off in my brain. It was like, okay, there's no more secrecy, no more privacy, like or whatever we
no more hesitation.
Yeah,
right?
It was like I'm in. Like, yeah, let's get there. Awesome. Was that your first job with the York Rite bodies?
Yes.
Okay.
Has that been your only job with the York Rite bodies, or have you had more than just secretary?
Well, I went through
you went through all the chairs
and all that,
okay.
Right? But yeah, I'd been through all the chairs, so
okay. Wow.
Same question. What's your apologies if it's not secretary. I'm not trying to put you in trouble, but what's your favorite job in York Rite, if you don't mind my asking? Anything really stand out?
No, not really. Once I got trained by Art, as secretary, I really enjoy it. To me, it keeps you younger. You're down here and working. Now, sometimes my wife gets a little aggravated when I spend so much time down here. But, you got right now, there's annual reports to be done, there's times when the dues cards go out.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, all the records you got to keep as a secretary. But I guess I'd say secretary is probably one of my favorite places to be. I really enjoy it.
It's a very involved role.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And then, of course, it's just like yesterday. I came down and spent about 3 hours down here because, we had council Wednesday night, and all that had to be tore down because we're doing Order of the Temple this coming Tuesday. And I tore all that other down, put it away, and got set up now for Tuesday night. Did all that myself.
Oh, Lord.
But, it was supposed to be a rainy day and all that, so I thought, shoot, I'll just go down there and get that done, and that's what I did. So
how cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I got my email reminder from Tom Gartner on my way here. Heard the phone go off, checked it in the parking lot. Like, hey, don't forget
to be here.
Yeah. So
you'll enjoy this.
I'm excited for it.
You'll enjoy it.
Very excited for it.
One of these days. I'll be over there. One of these days. I've been a little busy.
Yeah. A little busy.
A little busy. But, all this talk about all these appendant bodies, and I think that's a great time to pivot into Grotto. So what exactly, is Grotto, and what is its purpose? What is the Grotto?
Well, of course, I've got this in front of me. I guess
cheat sheet.
The cheat sheet.
I like it.
To tell you the truth, I went in Grotto probably in the 70s, but I was never active as a Grotto member until Freddie Paul and I, 5 years ago, I believe, we decided, well, we'll go to one of their fellowship meetings, which they have a stated meeting and they always have a nice meal and all that. And we did. And lo and behold, that was election night.
I think I know where this is going.
Exactly. They got to the point that they couldn't get a secretary or a treasurer. And Freddie and I were sitting back at a table, kind of not in the corner, but back away because they were having their meeting and all that, doing the elections. And they went through it, same thing as I talked about in New York, right? Nobody wanted the secretary or treasurer's job. The guys that had it were at the point that they wanted to sit back and take life easy, you know, and just enjoy the grotto as a regular member. So they went on and on like that about the election, and pretty soon Freddie and I both, I don't know how we did it, we just made eye contact, and I went, "What do you think, Freddie?" And he said, "If you'll do secretary," he says, "I'll do the treasurer," and he says, "I'll do the newsletter for him." All right. And like I say, that's only been about 5 years ago that I've really been active with that.
Yeah.
So that is like you're just all at once thrown into it. You know, it wasn't like that I've been involved in what all they do and the things and all that. It just, boom, I'm secretary of the local grotto now. So that's how that happened. And it hadn't been that long ago. But the years ago, grotto, you know, on Waterworks where they used to be, that
I'm not as familiar with Newark.
you know where
that might be.
Is that their water plant right there?
Yeah.
Just back this
right by the spillway.
That big building?
Yeah.
That was the grottos. They built that.
I'd heard that, but I wasn't okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when I first went in, they would have family things. I mean, all the time there was things they had things for the kids, you know, at Christmas and Easter and all that kind of thing, besides just having dinners, which your wife or girlfriend, whatever, wanted to attend with you. And also they had alcohol, but that was one of the things that how Grotto got started, that some Masons said, you know, we just go to meetings and do our regular thing and all that, you know, and why can't we have Masonics and also maybe have a little party time? And that was back in like the 1880-somethings that got started, you know, and that's how them guys got it started, that they could have alcohol. They were Masons in good standing. Yeah. You had to be a Mason to be a member of the grotto. But that's how they got started years ago. And I think that's the reason they had such a big membership at that time, was that guys like to, I don't know, lack of words, party, but, you know, they like to have
a little drink every now and again.
They figuratively...
You never did see anybody get out of order or anything like that, but, you know, they always had the alcohol there for you to enjoy.
And that's how I understand it. It's Masons who are kind of figuratively letting their hair down, if you will, being a little bit more relaxed.
Good way to put it.
Yeah, little more comedy, a little more lightheartedness, a little bit more fun, if you will.
And I find that interesting too when you think about where lodges started too, in rooms above bars.
Yeah.
I mean, that, you know, not allowed, but it's like, well, we started in bars. I mean, what do you think they were doing before and after?
Mm-hmm.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. So that's why I find it interesting. It's like, oh, no. And then we had to have grotto just for that whole purpose. So guys that wanted to just have a little bit more fun.
So you went in the 70s, you said, in the grotto.
Yeah.
But weren't active until a few years ago.
No.
Okay. So was there anything that drew you to it? Was it family that kind of pointed you towards just getting involved in the appendant bodies early, or?
Again, it was a friend at Rockwell where I worked, and he was active in the grotto, and he talked me into putting a petition in, you know, and said all the fun they have and all this and that, you know, the usual thing like guys the Masons will tell you. So I did. But when they don't have per se degree work like we do in Blue Lodge and some of the other appendant bodies. I can remember being on a stage and they blindfolded you, but they would have a chair set up where when you sat in it, you got shocked. I'm serious. It was a fun initiation. Okay. They would give you a little pill before you, just as soon as you got there. But when you went to urinate, it would be pure red. I mean, holy, what? I mean, that's the kind of, I'm telling you these things because that kind of sets the stage as to how they did Grotto, and it was it one of these that the degree work that you went, traditional degree work, in masonry.
So it's a little bit more
fun.
Yeah, it's a little bit more practical. There's some more practical jokes to it than
that's what it was.
A little bit more lighthearted than a regular lodge.
Oh yeah, because you could hear them laughing the things they did to you. Of course, they were just having a ball,
That's amazing.
So.
Always take the red pill. Just remember that. Always take the red pill.
You didn't know. I'd forgotten what the guy told me, that you had to take this pill. And you didn't know what it was for, but after a little while, you knew what it was
About
for.
90 minutes later, you figured it out. Yeah. My Lord.
So if I'm a master mason and I want to join the Grotto, what do I need to do to be able to join the Grotto?
Just a petition, ask for a petition, naturally, and of course you'll be it's treated the same as a Blue Lodge. You're voted on and all that,
Okay.
But I don't know if in Scottish Rite, and I don't think they do it in Grotto either. They really don't investigate you, and the thinking is, he's a Mason in good standing. He pays his dues, and he's been accepted as a Mason and went through the degrees. Unless something might have happened between a little bit there, but they think, well, we don't really have to go talk to him and investigate him to the point that to make sure he's okay and all that, like you normally do.
Yeah. That tends to make sense to me just because of how Blue Lodges are run as far as unmasonic conduct is concerned. You'd think that if there were a very serious problem, somebody would have brought unmasonic charges and it would handle itself. You guys wouldn't have to do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Of course, when they do vote on the petition,
of course,
right, and all that, and they always ask, has anybody got any objections and all that? So
similar to Blue Lodge, has to be unanimous.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Certainly does.
That's awesome. Thinking about, as we look at, we talked about the different ritual work in Blue Lodge, Scottish Rite, York Rite. What's the ritual work look like? I mean, is it very similar to a Blue Lodge or
in Grotto?
Yeah.
They really don't have any ritual work.
Really? Are there specific degrees that you go through, or
no
a degree, or
no?
So that means no inspections?
No inspections.
No memorization?
But you do have a Supreme Council. There's people, the Supreme Council has the Grand Monarch and a Grand Secretary and all that,
okay.
Just like Blue Lodge or anybody else does. So
it's got some organization to it.
Oh, it sure does.
So it's got a lot of the foundations like we have. It's just there's not degrees or rituals or things like that are necessarily followed the same way.
Right.
Now, when I think of a Grotto, I think of an individual lodge, if you will. I'm doing air quotes here. Do you guys have districts as well? Is there any type of hierarchy above a single Grotto where there are?
No, I think it's just like Ohio. I think
there's like the grand
state. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. There's just different grottos, but it's just all in Ohio or the grottos in Indiana or whatever.
So there's not like a 19th district or something like that for grottos in Ohio.
No.
Understood. Okay.
No. And you do have a deputy. In fact, he comes all the time, and he just observes, that you have an opening and have a regular meeting and have a secretary that tells the minutes and the financial report and all that. So you do all that kind of stuff at your regular meetings.
But nothing. I was going to say, but nothing like an inspection or doing degree work and things like that.
No.
Is it anything like the table lodges for Blue Lodge? Like, are you generally having a meal with the meeting? Okay.
We always have a meal. Yes.
Is that during or like at the before or after point? Okay.
So it is kind of like a table lodge. Then you have your meal and then you do your work right after that. Speaking of table lodge, that's going to be fun to work on for here. But but that's good to know that there, that is out there, and to me that's a great experience that guys can go get to learn a little bit about what a table lodge even looks like. Because a lot of guys haven't even seen those.
Right.
Myself included.
I've had the privilege to see two and be the guest speaker at one, but I love that.
That was outside the district, though. I mean, here
it was
local,
in another state.
Yeah.
Here locally, I've not done that, but I love that there's an appendant body that allows you to kind of get that experience, because again, it's one that's lacking, and I think a lot of lodges, they just don't do table lodges.
Right. Now, when the Grotto had the building there on the waterworks that we talked about earlier, and I talked that they served alcohol and all that, but now they sold the building and moved to Heath, as you know. Now, because Heath is in a Blue Lodge district or whatever, you can't have alcohol. So we do not have alcohol at our meals or anything anymore.
Okay.
But what we'd have to do, and we haven't done it since I've been in, if you was going to have something where you wanted to serve alcohol and have a dinner for your family or whatever, they'd have to go someplace else. They'd have to rent a place or whatever.
Yeah.
So I get the impression, though, that, I mean, don't get me wrong, being able to relax and have a drink or two is certainly fun, and I think it kind of contributes to the atmosphere, but I don't think that's that's probably not the glue
only thing, right?
Yeah, it's not the glue that keeps everybody together.
Well, that was exactly the case even when they were at Waterworks. We would have a meal, and everything, and it was available. The alcohol was available, but it got so there was very few guys even going over and getting a beer or a whiskey or whatever,
Yeah. It was more about the fellowship with the meal.
Right.
Really, again, really about the table lodge aspect of it.
Right.
Well, and with that in mind, I mean, I know we talked quite a bit about music earlier, and I know once upon a time, even in Blue Lodge, music played a role. Does music play a role at all in Grotto?
Not now, it doesn't. But yes, they used to have a band and all that. The guys were members. The Grotto guys, and they would play and all.
So you guys would have live music too.
Yes, but that's been a good many years ago.
I'm like picturing, like, I don't know what kind of music I'm picturing even being played. What kind of music was played if there was a band there?
Like a lot of dancing, where you could get up and dance, that type of thing.
Yeah,
because they always had your wives or whatever, and people would get up and dance. And the floor would be full. Couples dancing, and
I'm picturing like '60s doo-wop happening right there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm really picturing. That
Yeah,
so that's amazing to think that through. Would I find you on the dance floor there, Matt?
Oh, dude, I'm the biggest wallflower. I would be the guy with snarky comments about people who can't dance but have way more confidence than I do.
They might hear you.
Yeah. We got dance lessons occurring next door that probably heard that terrible quip.
So this sounds like it's more of like casual events than formal events that take place in the Grotto.
Yes. Even our dress now is very, in fact, I'd go like I am right now, to an annual, a stated meeting,
Jeans and a button
jeans
down.
and
Did it used to be a little bit more formalized with like suits, ties, things like that?
Yes.
Okay.
And it just kind of graduated into this casual.
I think Blue Lodges have kind of gone that way too. We were wearing suits and ties at one point for stated meetings, and now it's more business casual.
Largely, yes. Degree work is obviously
still in the suit, but it just seems that that's the way we've gone, and I don't disagree with that, either, because again, I think that keeps guys coming in and coming back if you're comfortable.
Yep. Heath, I don't know. Do you tend Heath?
I've been out to aerospace a few times.
Well, it seems like
year.
Here lately, my golly, that's almost every stated meeting. They'll put the word out. It's casual dress.
Yeah.
Now, they don't like jeans too much.
Yeah, no.
But I noticed guys are starting to do that.
Yeah.
More as it progresses along with the more casual.
Yeah, a little bit more casual.
I can't obviously speak for anybody but myself, but I've never, even when I was in the East, I never thought of it as disrespectful at all. Like, I'd rather have them here and see that they've put in the work.
Yeah.
Right. And not worry about what it is that they're dressed up like.
But you got some of the older Masons now. They think jeans and all that is disrespectful,
In an absolutely perfect world, Chuck, I'd still be in tuxedos sometimes, right?
Ooh,
but the reality is that many times I'd rather have the bodies than you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, don't we always say the internal, not the external qualifications?
Exactly.
I mean, that's something that...
And I've thought about that so many times, when some of these older guys will say, now, you better not wear your jeans, I want to see you in a suit and tie and all that, And I think, well, that's not what it says in our work.
Yeah.
And I always feel conflicted because I've actually said it in this microphone before. I recognize there's a psychological impact to dressing up too.
Yes.
Right. You carry yourself differently. I feel like people hold themselves.
The community sees you different.
Yes.
Correct. Yes.
And I think, again, when it comes down to ritual work, that's super important.
Yeah.
You've got to comport yourself differently.
Right.
Agreed.
But for a business meeting, I can do a business meeting in my pajamas. I mean, I'm not going to, but
please don't.
And I can see that when you do degree work, having new candidates coming in, if they see you in jeans and a T-shirt and everything, they think, well, that's the thing, and so that's what they're going to wear.
Right.
Yeah.
And even when I worked at Rockwell, we had to wear a white shirt and tie all the time out on the floor, anything, But the thing they put in your head is the respect.
Mm-hmm.
People will respect you more if you're dressed a little bit more respectable.
It is strange how it works. I don't know what's at play behind it, but it's true. I mean,
yes.
I very rarely have to wear a suit these days, except for lodge and the occasional wedding or something. But I know if I run into a filling station on my way to a wedding, the service you get is different in a suit than it is in a jeans and a T-shirt. It just is.
Traveling. I left lodge, in a suit and went over to Kroger or something to pick up some things to take home, and boy, people.
Right.
Before degree work, if I have to stop and get refreshments before degree work, and I'm walking into Kroger with my suit on at 6:30 at night, people look at you different when you're doing that.
Yeah.
But I think it also stresses the importance of what you're doing to those candidates too. You're not just coming in jeans and a T-shirt. You're showing them, this is important. I specifically got dressed up to come and be a part of this for you.
Yep.
As we think about, some of the events with Grotto, are these open events? I mean, so can spouses, significant others, kids, are they allowed to come to the events that Grotto has?
Yes.
Really? So it's basically open to all Masons and their families then?
Right. Yeah. That's what I was... when I was talking earlier, the things that they used to have, that the wives were always there, and they had the band and the dancing, and the kids would be there running around, and it was a family thing.
So these events, are they dances? Like how would you describe them? What are some events that you've seen put on, I guess, by the Grotto?
Well, I think I mentioned that before. They always had a big Christmas party.
Okay.
That was one of their big things, and of course they had presents for the children, and they always had an Easter thing that was a little bit more, not so partyish, but a little more formal, I guess you would say, because it being Easter.
Okay.
It wasn't as loose, I guess I would say, as you would have like a Christmas party or something like that. It seemed like that was really a big thing. The Christmas was always that place was full. That place there on Waterworks. I mean, it was totally full. You couldn't believe all the people that was in there.
Wow.
And when they had awards or anything, like we do in our lodges, usually it was even full for that, because they'd bring the families would come in, and it was a big thing to have people come up and get their 25 or 50-year pin or whatever. And
that's amazing.
I'm yearning for a time gone by, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to see that again.
Miss that.
Well, I mean, selfishly, I mentioned I got little ones, so the idea of being able to have them, come in and see the relationships that I've built and introduce the wife to people and
their kids,
like that's that tight knit community, right? That community of trust. I kind of like that idea.
Yeah, I really do love that. As we've weaved through this a little bit, we've talked, a little bit about Scottish Rite, York Rite. Does the Grotto exist on either of these paths, or is it separate altogether? Is it something that is, weaves into those two bodies, or does it just exist over here on its own? Or maybe I'm phrasing that wrong.
Grotto, it's not a part of Scottish or York, right? It's kind of a standalone body.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with Scottish Rite, York Rite, Blue Lodge, or anything.
Totally.
So there would be nothing that if I went in there and be like, oh, I'm not going to recognize this from Scottish Rite, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, you wouldn't. No, it wouldn't even be close.
He says with a laugh.
I was gonna say he says that with a laugh, and I'm like,
I go so much more.
I'm like, I might have to get that petition after this tonight, And we've talked a little bit about the broader or the structure of the grottos, so it's a little bit looser in the fact that there's not like districts and things like that, but there is kind of the overarching, I guess, Grand Lodge of Ohio type thing to it. Yeah.
Yeah, they keep a little bit of a strong fist type thing. It's like me being the secretary. I get things all the time for edicts.
Okay.
That go on, same as in Blue Lodges and some of the others. Any changes or just any communications that come through the Supreme Council, they correspond that through me. And then, of course, at our meetings,
So very similar in the sense that they want, there's a higher body that kind of pushes out information for you guys, and you do have a set of rules that you got to stay in. You got to color between the lines.
Yeah,
just
there's bylaws and all that there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I only color between the lines with the crayons that I can see.
Chris is colorblind, if you were not aware, Chuck.
No, I didn't know that. Of course, in Grotto, you were required to wear a fez.
Oh,
you've seen the Shriners with their fezzes?
Yeah.
That's the Grotto wears those.
They wear those similar or different color, or
it's pretty similar. The only thing is it has the Grotto, that guy that looks like a Muslim, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
And then if you become monarch, usually the Grotto will buy you another fez that's got all this sparkly stuff on
Ooh.
it. I mean, it really is really sharp looking.
Ooh, that is fancy. I can just see Matt with a sparkly fez on right now.
I don't know that it'd fit my weird shaped head, but I'll give it a go.
Yeah, I have heard, a rumor that many a Masonic lecture was taught and learned at Grotto over, a few beverages. Any truth to that, or is it something, you'd prefer not to admit or deny?
I don't know if it's true. I've never.
Okay.
Never really.
When I was a young Mason, younger still, I guess, because I'm hoping I still got some years left in me.
One or two.
But yeah, when I was younger still, I'd heard that the Grotto was where people went to learn the lectures and charges for Blue Lodge, because everybody over there was working on them as well. You'd do it over a couple of beers, and yeah.
Well, to be honest with you, I have never seen that.
Oh, okay.
I never did witness anything like that. That was the main purpose. We're going to have a little few beverages and study. I
think we need to start that tradition. Then,
yeah, there you go.
You're not kidding. You are not kidding. Well, a more serious question: is there anything about the Grotto that kind of enhances the Masonic journey for you?
Well, other than the fact that it seems like they're a little bit more family oriented. I know the Blue Lodge would like to be, but it seems like the Grotto has more of a success at doing things with the family than you do in the Blue Lodges. Scottish Rite kind of pushes family. When you get in commandery, they'll emphasize family a little bit more. But I think that's the main thing with Grotto, that it's what enhanced me to become a Grotto member then, because I was a young man, and boy, it was fun to go to those things, all the
well, and on just from what you've told me today, it seems like, and I don't disagree with you, right? I've not been a part of a Masonic body that wasn't big on family and how important it is,
right.
But it feels more philosophical, whereas what you're talking about is more of that rubber meeting the road. Like, they're putting on events, they're encouraging you to bring the spouse, they're encouraging you to bring the kids, right?
Yep.
So
exactly.
Okay. So it's less philosophical and more like real world application, like bring people. We want to build a community here.
Right.
Okay.
You're exactly right.
What do you think stops like Blue Lodges, York Rite Lodges from breaking that philosophical barrier of being able to do that?
A lot of it is the age. Because just like myself at my age, I don't have even any grandchildren per se, and things like went on back then was a lot of young men that were starting their families. They had the children, and now you've got Masons that are older and they don't have these families and the children or even the grandchildren so much, and I think maybe the age has a lot to do with Masonic functions in that respect.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That, like you guys, there aren't very many of you young guys in Masonry anymore, to be truthful. And
we've unfortunately had that conversation a handful of times. It feels like late Gen X through current date, not a lot of joiners, a lot of people just kind of doing their own thing. They're not a part of anything. It's not just Masonry that they're not looking at. It's Elks, Moose Lodges, et cetera, like everybody who's
where they can go and
right. Everybody kind of
have a
suffers
little
from
meal
membership.
and a little drink and
Yeah.
Exactly. And when you talk to somebody about Masonry, what's their reaction? You mean you mean somebody works with bricks or something?
I wish
There's
I could.
so many people don't even know what Masonry. It hardly exists.
In the internet age, I wish I could have that conversation. Usually I either get people who think they know everything because they've watched a couple of History Channel documentaries,
or National Treasures with Nick Cage,
or they're the other way and they're super kooky and they think that we're doing weird, conspiratorial things down here.
We're not.
If we are, we're doing it very poorly. Very, very bad execution.
No, I think you're right. There's a set of virtues that we try to instill upon folks, through the Blue Lodge, through the York Rite, through Scottish Rite. Are there any virtues or lessons from, Grotto that they try to reinforce with folks? Thinking about what we try to like brotherly love, relief, and truth with the Blue Lodge.
Well, it's really basically the same. And I mean, they're Masons, the Grottos, so that background of brotherly love and everything it's the same in the Grotto as it is. Yeah, there isn't any difference in that respect, Just like Masons, help one another and assist one another, and Grottos do the same thing. They stand up for their membership, and if you're a Grotto member, just like your Blue Lodge does, and helps one another out.
I like it.
No, I love it. And again, thinking about the Blue Lodges and the Grottos, how can the Blue Lodges and the Grottos work to support each other better today?
You got to get that word out, I think, is the main thing. We don't advertise. So does your next door neighbor know about Masonry?
He does, only because his wife's grandfather is in it.
Mason?
Yeah. And he's got we have kids that are of similar age. And so between birthday parties and everything, I've gotten to meet that gentleman as well and shake hands. But even with kids the same age and having me as a neighbor and family can't get them down here.
Maybe another path, when Masonry became so popular, it was a lot of because guys coming back from wars or whatever. It was a camaraderie.
Yeah.
Do we need to go after people that can recently come out of the military or something? They like that camaraderie, and make them aware of what the Masons are about. I don't know if that would be a good path to pursue or not.
Veterans are an interesting group, and I certainly would support that. We've had a couple in Newark 97 that have worked out very well in terms of their commitment and being really good guys. Yeah. But even still, it's kind of surprising that there aren't more because, I mean,
well, and knowing the Marine Corps League, we have a brother that works very heavily with that, and I was talking with him last week, their numbers are dwindling too.
And that's quite literally where I was going, because it surprises me that we have so few veterans in the lodge, knowing exactly what you're talking about. They're coming from that really tight-knit group of gentlemen. They're looking for that kind of brotherhood after the fact. And we've had a 20-year global war on terror. You would think there would be more.
You would think.
And there are not. Yeah.
So to me, that would be one, as I said, a path to pursue, to get men interested in Masonry.
Well, one of the things that and I'm saying this off the cuff, not try to put anybody on the spot here, since we got a Christmas party coming up in December, no doubt, but you talking about the Grotto Christmas party and how big it used to be, and us having, you and the other masters having the idea of doing the Feast of St. John, combining efforts.
Yeah.
What's to stop us from
combining with the Grotto and having a little bit of fun?
That's right.
I love it.
That's right. Do we have to have the Christmas party up on 3, or can we do something a little different? Can we add some numbers to the mix and make it a party?
I like where you're going.
Yeah. Just a thought.
Yeah, that's good thought.
We'll have to revisit this episode here in a couple months, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Off the cuff here. What's the funniest story or thing you've seen happen at a Grotto event, Chuck? Funniest.
Probably what I said before, when they would sit you down in the chair, you got to see some of the other candidates go through that, and I suppose that's probably one of the funniest things, the reaction.
Down, right back up.
Yeah.
Did that happen to you?
Oh, sure.
Did it happen to Fred Paul too, I guess is my question.
Now, I don't know when Freddie went into Grotto.
Okay, I was going to say, because I can just see that.
Yeah. he'd get up and give a piece of his mind, wouldn't he?
Start looking around for who did it.
Yeah. This is going to stop.
There will be no more of this.
As we're kind of wrapping up too, if you could give one piece of advice to young Masons out there, what would you say to those young Masons out there?
Be as involved as you would like to be, but keep your family in consideration. I think a lot of wives don't really understand Masonry, and they think, they're spending too much time, and they're wondering what's really going on and all that, and that they ought to explain to their wives. And I think if you have things going on with the family and with the wives and children, they will see what goes on, with the Masonry, and maybe they'll understand it a little bit more. So just the young men should realize that they need to explain to the family, because it's years ago, it seemed like everybody knew what went on with Masonry, what it was all about and everything. But what I asked you just a little bit ago, everybody you talk to, they never even heard of Masonry, So
yeah,
I think the awareness is making other people around them understand what they see in Masonry, and maybe that get in their mind that why I like to go to the meetings and all that. So, okay.
Yeah, well, Chuck, thank you so much. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you here at the Newark 97 podcast studio, and we completely appreciate your time here, and it's been a fantastic time.
Well, I really enjoyed it. Of course, when I came down, you didn't know what to expect and all that, but I really did enjoy it, and I hope it's a success, that something that you can put out and
Oh, this is phenomenal.
This is going to be great.
Maybe other people will get something out of it, and little understanding about masonry. Or
That's the hope.
Yeah.
And it's been phenomenal. I can't thank you enough, Chuck. Seriously.
Thank you.
And again, a special thank you to Illustrious Brother Chuck Gaiser for being our guest here this week. What a great interview.
Yeah, I really appreciated him coming down here. Some of the stories, his interesting journey there.
Yeah. I mean, we always talk about the journeys not being the same in Freemasonry. And boy, what a different journey than what you've experienced, what I've experienced.
100%. But, and just that, I think you said it really well when you were like, but that last 30 years, like he's done so much.
Yeah. I mean, I never knew that he was a 60-year Mason. I guess I had forgotten that until he talked about that. But what a great journey. And boy, we're really excited to tell these stories and continue to tell these stories. Speaking about that again, while we're really focusing on those appendant bodies, remember next month's episode is our special Father's Day episode. And boy, I think the stories coming out of that are either going to embarrass us or be really good or both.
Yeah, it might be equal measures of both. We'll see. We'll see how that goes.
But that is once again going to do it for us here at Beyond the Door. We really hope you enjoyed this episode, and we look forward to connecting with you each and every month. Please help us grow our audience by subscribing to us on your podcatcher of choice, as well as sharing this podcast with your brothers, friends, and family. Did you enjoy this episode? Please leave us your feedback on your podcatcher of choice. Again, we want only the good reviews, right?
Or just one.
Do
we have one?
I don't remember. I'd have to check.
Okay.
But hey, be the first one to give us that really good review. Leave us your comments. Leave us your feedback. We really want to hear from everyone out there. Do you want to get in touch with us? Newark 97 is on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also reach us via email at newark.97.lodge@gmail.com. Until next time, stay safe, and as always, search for light in Masonry.